Why does making friends as an adult feel so
What
hard?
should I wear on a first date?
What the hell is a 401?
But that
Why
hookup
is
was
buying my
not
first
good.
home
So
What do I want my
frustrating.
life to look like in 5 years?
We want to know too.
Since 2012, the Everygirl has been an online destination to help women around the world achieve the life of their dreams. Now, we're excited to bring you the same inspiring content with the Everygirl Podcast.
Welcome back to the Everygirl Podcast. First order of business is a celebration and also a thank you because last weekend we hit 1 million downloads. When I first started this podcast, I honestly did not know who would give an F about little old me. I had so much imposter syndrome about being not good enough for our Everygirl audience. So getting to 1 million downloads blows my mind. And I want you to know that what matters to me is all of the DMs, the reviews, any chance I get to connect with you and hear that we've made your life just like a little bit better, whether it's bringing on a guest that has amazing advice or answering a question that you're dealing with on Ask the Everygirl. Or maybe you feel a little less alone and get to show up with me episode after episode where we get to all be ourselves together, just us girls. It is truly the greatest honor of my life to get to be a part of your week, and I am incredibly proud of this community that we have built together. So I just have to give a quick little celebration to celebrate our 1 million downloads and to thank you guys because this is for you. Now, diving into this week's Ask the Everygirl, this is an amazing question that I think we all have at some point in our lives. So I hope if this episode resonates with you, you'll save it for sometime in the future where you may need to hear it. I feel like this might be a topic that we might need, myself included, like the reminder a few times throughout our lives. So the question this week is, I just got rejected and it really freaking sucks. Any tips to deal? I think as a culture, we have to stop seeing receiving a no as such a negative thing. I have this conspiracy theory that viewing rejection as a bad thing is a strategy to keep us small. Because when we see rejection as a bad thing, instead of just like a normal part of life that happens, we stop trying for a relationship or the career or the life that we want. We sacrifice going for what we actually want in order to stay safe, and that keeps us small. So, my biggest point I will probably try to make today is let's stop viewing rejection as such a bad thing that we have to avoid at all costs. I don't know if this listener is dealing with getting rejected in their love life or not getting a job after they interviewed or getting let go from a job. I don't know what exactly they were rejected from, but I think of how we handle it and view it as the exact same way, no matter what it is you are getting rejected from. Why we struggle so much with the feeling of rejection is because it shakes our self-worth. Like, okay, sure, maybe you were excited about this person that you were interested in or this opportunity, so you feel bummed. But why rejection feels so damn bad is because we view it as evidence for that nagging belief that we are not good enough or that we are not lovable enough. But whether or not we get rejected has literally nothing to do with our worth. Nothing. It's just a numbers game. So talk about rejection in your love life, for example. Whether or not someone likes you has to do with compatibility, not your worth. A study published in Psychological Science found that people are significantly more likely to be attracted to people who reciprocate interest, unrelated to the person's individual qualities. So this proves that if someone rejects you, if someone's not interested in going on a second date, if someone swipes left on you, it's usually about their personal preferences rather than anything wrong with you. Dating is simply a numbers game of compatibility, and the chances of finding compatibility is actually pretty low. In studies done on speed daters, they found that mutual matches where both people are interested happen about 10 to 20% of the time. In other words, the chances of liking someone that likes you in return are fairly low. Now, the point of me saying that is not to be like, bummer, dating is super hard, why even try? But my point is that rejection is going to be a big part of dating because statistically speaking, you will only be compatible with 10 to 20% of people. And thank God, because if you were compatible with, 90% of people and you never got rejected, being in a relationship, having that connection and compatibility with someone would not be so special. We would not actually want to stay in long-term committed relationships if 90% of people out there were compatible with us, right? So it's actually a good thing that we are only compatible with 10 to 20% of people. But that means, statistically speaking, again, just as a numbers game, rejection is going to be a big part of dating. So instead of looking at rejection as evidence that we should stop trying, look at it as the evidence that you're getting closer to finding a relationship that you want. Because I'm no math wizard, but if you go on 2 dates, finding that 10 to 20% of people that will be compatible for you, that's pretty freaking unlikely. But the more dates you go on, the more likely you are to find that 10 to 20%. 10 to 20% of 5 people is a very different number and likeliness than 10 to 20% of 50 people. You know what I mean? I never thought math would be a part of any life advice I gave or something I did by choice whatsoever. So I hope that makes sense to you. The same thing applies in any other form of rejection. If you're applying for a job and you don't make it past the first round, it's obviously so easy to think, I'm not good enough. But in reality, maybe the hiring manager had an internal candidate in mind, or they were looking for a highly specific skill set. Maybe the company was an environment that you wouldn't want anyway, so they were not a fit for you, just like you weren't a fit for them. The rejection isn't about you, it's about fit and timing. And just to further prove that rejection has absolutely nothing to do with your value or what you're capable of, I did some research. Harry Potter, yes, Harry Potter was rejected 12 times before finally being published. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Who cuts Michael Jordan from the basketball team? Oprah was told that she was unfit for television early in her career and was fired from a journalism job. And then this one's funny. The Beatles were rejected by a record group who said guitar groups are on the way out. Okay. If the Beatles are rejected from a record label, I promise you, any rejection you're experiencing in life has nothing to do with what you are capable of. And it says nothing about your future or what you're worthy of. Rejection is all about fit, timing, or personal preference, not about your worth or value. But this fear of rejection, that worry of this inevitable, normal part of life, it just keeps us from playing the numbers game. The more job applications you submit, the more likely you are to find your dream job. As they say, the odds go up when you submit an application. So if we look at it that way, rejection isn't failure. Statistically speaking, it means that you are actually closer to success. So if we can stop seeing rejection as this awful thing that we have to avoid and that we feel ashamed about or embarrassed about, we can perhaps start seeing rejection as maybe even a positive. I know, crazy. You can really look at it like rejection is proof that the universe or whatever you believe in has your back, because rejection is how you don't end up with people or opportunities that are actually not right for you. There's a classic Daoist parable that I learned about in college, and it's one of my favorites. It's pretty famous. You might have heard of it, but it goes like this. One day, a farmer's horse ran away, and his neighbors were all like, "Oh no, what bad luck. That's so awful. Your horse ran away." And the farmer says, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows?" A few days later, the horse comes back with another horse. So now the farmer had more horses than before. And the neighbors all said, "Wow, you're so lucky. That's awesome." And the farmer said, good thing, bad thing, who knows? Later, the farmer's son was riding one of the horses and was thrown off and broke his leg. The neighbors were like, oh, how awful, he broke his leg, that's so unlucky. The farmer, of course, says, good thing, bad thing, who knows? A week later, soldiers arrived in the village to recruit young men for war, but because the farmer's son had a broken leg, he was spared from being drafted. So then it kind of keeps going on like this. So the point of this parable is to accept life instead of labeling events as good or bad. But I think it's a really great example of where what feels like a bad thing today could be the biggest blessing tomorrow. And I have found this is really true. I don't know of any example from my life or from people I know where rejection did not turn out to be the biggest blessing. So you may feel really broken about losing a job or a relationship, but one day you will look back and know it was the best thing that happened to you. I call it like your thank God moment. Like you will one day be thinking, thank God it did not work out with that asshole, or thank God I did not get that job, because you wouldn't have had what you have now. And maybe it actually wasn't the right fit for you no matter how much you thought you wanted it at the time. And I'm not saying you have to have, a toxic positivity mindset about it, like not letting yourself wallow in your feelings. Like wallow, feel upset, feel sad for this opportunity or person that you missed. But just know that your thank God moment is coming. Let me know in the Spotify comments what has helped you with rejection or times in your life where rejection ended up being a blessing in disguise. I'm dying to hear your thoughts and experiences on this topic, so let me know in the comments. Come back on Tuesday for an episode with a celebrity nutritionist where we talk about protein, a 4-day reset, foods that act as GLP-1s, supplements, inflammation, so much great wellness advice. Have a happy rest of your day and a great weekend, and I will talk to you on Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Everygirl Podcast on Instagram or at theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.